Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Man, we got somebody in the audience. Where's my hair at? Like, come on now. We got somebody in the audience who said they met Nico at Standing Rock. Woo!
A minute ago.
Old school, Sleepy. Old school. You met Nico House at Standing Rock? Holy cow. Let's bring in Nico House, talk to him about this. Nico.
Oh, man, what's going on? I just got done with some Father's Day festivities. Had my oldest son had a Father's Day presentation today.
I saw the picture, man. That's pretty awesome.
Nah, the presentation was today. We went out for Father's Day yesterday though, or Sunday. That was a good time.
Nice. Where'd you go?
Got a good reminder. We went bowling actually. They have a really nice bowling place here, and I'm like kind of friends with the owner at this point because I've been there so much because the family's like, or my bowling is kind of big in my family. So like we would go there get like 2 floors. They hook us up with like drinks and food all the time. Went with a few friends. It was like maybe 9 of us. Yeah, bro. And my 2-year-old decided that he doesn't want any help whatsoever with the bowling ball. So that was just that was crazy. Yeah, no, like he's put up like the 7 to 8 pounds, bro. And like I'm just trying to help put the rack. You know that little rack you can use to throw the ball down for the kids. Yeah, he ain't wanted no parts of that shit. No parts of it. He started screaming. I'm like, okay, well, what are you gonna do then? You can't lift the ball. Oh, nope. Yes, you can. Okay, my bad. He picked that thing up, bro, and throws it down the lane. Bruh, a freak of I'm test tube baby. I don't know what this dude taking, but yeah, hopefully it's legal.
There's a video out there, a little meme out there with a little kid trying to put a belt buckle in, and his father's like, "Hey, you need some help with that?" He's like, "No, what could I do?" He's like, "You worry about yourself. You worry about yourself." And he's trying. It's pretty popular out there. Little kids like, "You worry about yourself."
Hey. That's how I be, bro. These little kids too much, bro. They too smart.
Nice. Well, congratulations and happy Father's Day to you, Nico.
Appreciate it, man.
Me and my sister were talking about her, what do you call that? The child's christening thing when you the baby shower thing that you came to back in the days. That's when you met.
Yeah.
Now the baby, she's got a 5-year-old, Quintus. He's starting school.
That's so crazy, bro. Yeah. That's so crazy. 5 years old, bro.
Genius little kid too, as well. You know, I mean,
I believe it, bro. And we knew that. We knew that was
high energy, loud, drive me crazy sometimes. But you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I'm interested to see what this kid's gonna do.
Bro, look at his uncle, man. I'm pretty sure he spends more time with you as much as anybody else. And you're, he's crazy, loud, full of energy.
You know something? I never went through like the whole school system like Fiorella, right? Like she's gifted person, honors class, and her 2 siblings, same thing. Like they competed when they graduated. I had one at 3.960. I got a 4.1 with my gift. I'm like, I got a 1.9. Had to sign a waiver to graduate high school. I barely participated. So
how'd you get to sign a waiver?
Yeah, the school and my parents did, and whatever. I don't know what they did. They were like,
made something happen.
They have to acknowledge that, I don't know that. And I had to do some stupid shit. I don't know what it was, but they let me graduate barely by the skin of my teeth. And here I am today. You know what I'm saying? I've been on stage. I've been in a debate with some, some lawmakers here and there. So it's like, okay.
I got held back in the 7th grade. I got held back in the 7th grade. I always tell people that. I'm like, yeah, man, I got held back in the 7th grade. They're like, hold up. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Because how did you go to UNC then? How did you get? I graduated with a 4.2. And they were like, I wasn't stupid. I just got held back. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life, man. But it's it's important, right, to build that foundation wherever you can. But the reality is, if you have, a solid family unit, some people's abilities can't be demonstrated until they get out of school, because school isn't tailored to cater to your best abilities. And you're definitely one of those people, man. You can't teach how to be pasta, bro. That's
So I have another
school of the
friend.
streets.
I got another friend who's got a daughter, and she's just not challenged at school. Like, you can just see
Mhm.
that. Like, the girl is like mad smart. She's just not challenged at school. I mean, what's she gonna do? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. You got to really
talented
turn it up
kid.
in class, or excuse me,
Yeah.
at home, really. But there's not in school, unless they can, if they can't pay for private school, so that's already like that might be out the window. And if the school isn't offering advanced classes, the only thing you can do is challenge trail home, and that's what my mom would do a lot of the times. Like, she would kind of give me these goals to hit, and my debate coach would do the same thing. Like, well, yeah, man, just try to get a perfect score on this, try to get a 99 average in class, or try to do that to keep me interested, because I would get like that too. After about a half of a semester, bro, I'd be like, it's just getting repetitive. I don't understand why we have to repeat this same thing over and over again. I just would turn off. I just wouldn't pay attention. So,
I don't think education is paid attention to enough, you know, when it comes to kind of factoring what kind of country and nation we're going to be, what policies are going to be implemented and whatnot, what kind of workforce we're going to have, what is the next generation going to be like. It just kind of, I think it's looked at like secondary, like it's a personal thing. Like, what do you want to get? What do you want?
it's checking the box.
Your kids, and yeah, I know it is, but
it's so lame. It's like you're because China, they're very intentional with their education, right? Like, they're already teaching their kids AI because they know, regardless of how people feel about it, it's going to shape the future. To a large degree, a lot of countries in Europe and around the world, they learn English because no matter how they feel about the United States, they understand English is going to be very important if they want to be able to have the most opportunities in the future. The United States is not like that, bro. I don't know why. Because you would assume a country that loves putting their people to work like they're goddamn mules, right? Like, you would assume that they would pay more attention to the people that's going to shape the future. But it's like there's kind of whatever, good luck. You got kids playing basketball that get to reclass to 6th and 7th grade. I'm like, what the hell is going on out there, man? I don't know what's going. Nah. But it's we had a. Go ahead.
yeah, Snorky's there. He's a professor, and we have talked about this before. I don't know, was that we didn't talk about education with you last week?
We
I don't think it was.
did. We did.
We had a long talk about education, right? They're not raising leaders, they're raising followers, they're producing followers. And if you think about everything we talk about today, to this day, we're talking about the whole Israeli situation with Gaza and Lebanon, what's going on with Iran. But what were we taught in school about Israel? You know what I'm saying? How they were the victims, and how the country came to be,
Bro.
whatnot. We spent a
It's
lot of time
insane
about
how
the
much
Holocaust, and
I'm ashamed at how much I bought into the propaganda. Because, like,
Well, who wrote all?
It was on the text.
Dude, as far as me and Nico go, I guarantee all the textbooks me and you read were from Ghislaine Maxwell's father's company, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
that McGraw-Hill.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, it kind of makes sense now.
Talking about the founder, when we get that 2 pages of Black Panthers, and they don't even mention Fred Hampton as one of the founders.
I didn't know who that guy was till I was an adult.
Same here, bro. It's our education system is broken in the United States, and I think that that parents actually have a responsibility to be more involved. And I know it's difficult. I know it's asking for a lot because people are trying to survive, bro. It's very, very difficult, and you do have to put some of the responsibility on your kid too, just so they can understand how to be a responsible adult and take accountability. However, the parents have to start paying attention to what's happening in these classrooms and I confirm, bro, you know how many times my kid goes to a really good school. There are times where I've caught them messing up and I have my wife send a message and it turns out I was correct. And then I'm like, so then the whole class gets corrected because, for example, there was a period where they were learning how to read and 3/4 of the class was in remediation for reading. Now, granted, they learn how to read a little bit early because it's a private school, but I said there has to be something wrong. They're not teaching them correctly. And so whenever my son, he made some kind of mistake, I was like, why are you saying it like that? And said, "Oh, they taught me how to do it like that's like that's not how you do that." And I explained it to him, and then I asked other parents, and they said they got taught the same thing. And then it turns out they were all being taught the wrong method. Like, so parents have to be active, definitely, because your kid's gonna shape the future. Your kid gonna shape whether you're gonna be able to retire or not.
Well,
So
part of the whole, tobacco and plan, right, is make sure that the parents are consumed, right? And I'm not talking about just consumed with like TV and entertainment. It's just consumed trying to pay the bills where they
I pay
don't
the
have
bills.
time, enough time or an ample amount of time to pay attention to their children's education because they got to put food on the table, make sure the rent is paid and whatnot. And it used to be one household member can pay the bills and the other can be a stay-at-home mom or dad. That's just not the case anymore. Everybody's got to work together now, make sure everything's paid on time. Comes down to every month. God forbid someone gets sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's almost like secondary. You're almost like just kind of, all right, let's let the state raise my kid or teach my kid because I got to do my things to make sure that kid has a house to live in and food on the table.
Mhm.
So it's part of the whole. It's part of the whole plan. I mean,
Did your parents study with you?
My grandma did a little bit, but never my parents. Never my
Yeah, I only remember. So my dad studied with me heavy when he lived with me until I was like 6 or 7. Like, and it was like a huge difference maker, basically going forward for the rest of my life. But then I like kind of remembered there was a point, and it's not really my mom's fault. I understand why she kind of reacted like that because she didn't know how to deal with it. But I would ask her for help on homework, and she's like, "How the hell am I supposed to do this? I don't know what you're doing. I can't help you." And I'm like, how if you don't know, how am I supposed to figure it out? It's as a kid, you kind of have to, especially as a young adult, you have to learn how to problem solve and things like that. But it makes it. I feel like it's very difficult for parents to follow their kids' studies. And I'm able to keep up with my kids' studies. I literally learned Portuguese as fast as I did to make sure I could help my kids while they're in school. But it's crazy how much of a differentiating factor that can have on whether or not your kid does well. Like, and I feel like there's not enough tools for parents to access to help their kids study. They could just, hey, go study. You do well, pass test. You didn't pass test. Why don't you pass test? Study more. Like, it's not enough. So yeah, man. Speaking of kids, why don't they teach logic and reasoning in class anymore? Like, I heard it was the thing at one point, but logic and reasoning.
That whole critical thinking shit. They don't want that.
Yeah, I had a class like that in high school, but apparently that's not a thing anymore, and it's crazy because I'm watching the situation with Abdul El Sayed unfold, and people, he got endorsed by Kamala Pasta. I don't know if you saw, and
of course we did.
The war, of course she did.
Right? He proudly accepted. He proudly accepted the endorsement, and people were just appalled. They were flabbergasted, and I'm like, okay, so once again, this is where logic and reasoning would kick in. Have y'all not been paying attention?
But why are these people surprised?
I don't know, bro. He literally was the first Muslim American leader to endorse Kamala for her presidential campaign, while she was actively overseeing a genocide.
She was the vice president.
You ready for the first call?
Let's do it. Caller, where are you calling from? Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Pasta Nico. It's Anthony. I'm in the Motor City, Detroit.
Detroit. We just got done talking about your guy.
I had to call in when I heard you guys talking about Abdul. I mean, gosh darn, it's too much. It's a oversaturation within that clown.
Bruh, I felt the same ways. He's been on this shit lib run since he lost the first race, and people just kind of like ignored it. If people ignored it, I don't know why.
I voted for him way back when in 2018. I voted for him. I was like, oh yeah. And then the day after he lost, he was just a big fake ass, and he's been a fake ever since. And then Force the Vote, he got into it with Jimmy Dore on Twitter way back in then, 2020. 2021, he's on CNN every day calling for lockdowns and mandates, 2022, he's writing op-eds for the Ukraine war. I'm like, guys, are you even paying attention?
Somebody remembers.
And
Somebody remembers.
yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
the funniest part is one of my buddies I used to grew up, smoking pot in the garage with and stuff in high school. He's like one of his right-hand political handlers. I'm like, oh wow, you're going to Washington. Have fun with that. But it's disappointing.
Anthony, I'm glad you called this morning because, to tell you the truth, being that we're here, I was going to play a hotspot video from one of Nico's outlets about talking about Saeed, because this is the thing they're going to do, and I don't understand this. It's kind of like this, I don't know if I want to call it the crystal ball left at this moment, this moment, Nico, but I think we need to come up with a good name where these people who endorse these shit libs, that we know their establishment. Rania Kalick even made some type of like comment, and I'm like, Rania, maybe you need to get your head checked and look in the mirror, because this same
Rania does that shit on purpose, bro.
Over and over and over and over again. And this is where the split happened, right? When we were all in this mix together, we were all Bernie Sanders people moving forward. We had a unity of sorts that, I don't think we'll ever have again, because unfortunately it turned out to be one big sheep herding plan by Bernie Sanders, the cuck that he is. But, we saw that split, and we saw a group of people, independent journalists, that were willing to capitulate to red team, blue team mentality, and some that were ready to say no. This is where I will give Jimmy credit, as I thought Jimmy was one of the leaders when it came to, hey, you don't have to vote for these Democrats. Do not be fooled into playing the lesser of two evil games, the butt Trump movement. And I'm so glad you called, Anthony, because you laid out so many things that I'm like, we knew all of this shit. What did you think is going to be different? But I am curious, you being in Detroit, is there a younger crowd that didn't experience, that didn't go through what we saw with our own eyes? Somebody just mentioned that they met Nico at Standing Rock. That was one of the first events that went through a series of events that we also eventually learned that the Democratic Party, A, could not be changed, and B, was an establishment party no matter what. They exist to make sure that no leftist movement could thrive. Go ahead, Anthony from Detroit.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you say that. I said before, and I say again, all my friends that I used to be friends with more so, they're all just on board on the bandwagon. And yeah, there's a lot of youth. There's a sucker born every minute. They didn't watch the Bernie Sanders thing crash and burn twice, so they don't have. Yeah. But it's a lot of boomers too. A lot of suburban wine mom boomers are suddenly the big progressives. It's like, well, okay.
It's because the suburban wine moms are now on TikTok and Instagram more. I've noticed it. And so they're like trying to follow the trends as they tend to do. There's nobody lazier than a suburban wine mom. So if she thinks that she can impact change by liking photos and posting to her stories, that's what they're going to do. And I get in arguments like about like black issues or Abdul El Sayed, for example, I argue more with white middle-aged moms than anybody else, even about black issues. Yeah. They're like, you just don't understand. Don't I? A little bit. I feel like I got a little bit of experience in this. No. And I explain to people like, no, like El Sayed, he's anti-war, for example, right? Until it's time to give rockets and missiles and weapons to neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And his excuse is, because we know the neo-Nazis exist, guys. His excuse is because, Putin started, which is not true. That's not true. We know that. The Ukraine started bombing Donbass, bombing the Donetsk region, bombing East Ukraine. We know. Cool. But then he'll call Hamas bacteria. That's what he referred to them as, bacteria. But he won't mention the fact that obviously Israel encroached on Gaza, which is why the Hamas resistance was created. He's clearly capitulating to the Democratic Party. There's nothing going to change. You could argue that he damn near is worse than AOC because he didn't even wait till he got into office before he started capitulating. And so I don't understand.
He's a lot smarter, and he can speak a lot more clearer. The other day with that reporter, him saying, God helping, I'll be a great, senator. And the way he can kind of approach somebody because he understands what he's dealing with. The AOC, is like a dog in headlights. You know, all of a sudden you get a question. That was the same thing with Kamala Harris. I'm gonna play a quick video. This is something that Nick Cruz shared the other day, and then we'll get the last. We'll give Anthony the last 60 seconds to kind of put a bow on this whole situation, what he sees moving forward, since he is from Detroit. I don't know. Is this you talked about wine moms, white liberal moms, cappuccino moms, but I also like to talk about black women who voted for Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders in South Carolina at the behest. And I want to get your opinion on that too, on why they did so, Nico, because it was a big block that pretty much handed Hillary Clinton South Carolina. Now it could be the voting machines and it could be fake too as well, because we know that does exist, but a lot of interesting things to unpack. You're watching Drive Time in the Morning. If you want to give us a call, 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. I call it Bernie Sanders Blackjack. Here's the new maybe senator of Michigan.
You're saying you would not support sending aid to Israel, which was attacked by Hamas, but you have also said that you would support sending military aid to Ukraine, which was, of course, attacked and invaded by Russia. Where do you draw the line there?
Well, in Ukraine, you're talking about attacks from a leader of a neighboring sovereign country who clearly violated international law and attempting to breach the sovereignty of the Ukrainian public. That is conditional on that circumstance. We have been offering unconditional foreign military aid to Israel, independent of the circumstances, for years and years and years. And might I say, it's not just Israel, it's also Egypt, it's also Jordan, it's also Saudi Arabia. That's the difference. It's about the conditions. So when we're talking about taking on Putin and his violation of international law, I do believe we have a responsibility to uphold international law and therefore to support Ukraine and Israel.
You're saying,
Anthony, listen, he's not the only Democrat, so we can't just put this on Abdul El Said, because every single Democrat says the same party line. And by the way, he would have never won the nomination if he didn't go along with this rhetoric. This is a must go along with every single Democrat. Nobody separated themselves. I know that Angelica Duenas, who's running in California, she's made the runoff for the third time, is kind of understanding what's going on, understand that this is just a Ponzi scheme of funneling money to the military-industrial complex. I still can't believe Hakeem Jeffries got away with the FTX scandal. Nobody's even said anything. He's still going on. But Anthony, when you hear Abdul El Said talk like this, and I'm glad you brought it to the show today. It's like you read my mind. You felt my vibe. Thank you so much. But when you hear this and you see this, what do you think? And I'm going to let you get the last word in before we take another call. You're listening to Drive Time. This is Anthony from Detroit. Go ahead, buddy.
Right on, Pasta. Well, I mean, Ukraine, they're a lost cause. They'll never be right. But it was funny on Uncommitted. He was one of the champions of Uncommitted during 2024. And everyone acts like that was like some big fight against Camel and the Democrats. No, Uncommitted was always going to endorse them. They said that when they started the whole dang thing. It was Abandon Harris and Kashama Sawant. She traveled here to Dearborn. I went to a couple of rallies with her and Jill Stein. That's what they want to pretend, that Abdul was Abandon Harris. No, they were the ones. But there's one more thing I got to tell you about this sucker. He pissed me off so bad. Okay, he puts out a campaign ad, Mr. Abdul, with the Journey song, Don't Stop Believing. And one of the lines in there is born and raised in South Detroit. And this sucker, man, it's okay. That's a big anthem around here, right? A lot of people like
I understand.
it. The problem is South Detroit's not a real place. And so there's 3 different regions of the area that kind of claim it. One's Southwest Detroit, one's Downriver is a community, and the other one's Windsor, Canada. And Abdul ain't from none of those 3 places. Can't rock with it.
I get it. I'm like that when people sing J. Cole, like they're from Fayetteville.
There's no such
There is
thing
no
as
South Detroit, but
not
there's a
like
Southwest.
Detroit. It
There's
doesn't
a
fit into the
Southwest.
song.
Like, you know, like
fake
if I
place.
refer to the SoCal location, like people know what SoCal is. They know what Southern California is. Like there is no Southern, like South Detroit. It's not. I've never even heard of that actually. I guess I didn't realize until you said it.
Yeah, well, Canada is right south of us, believe it or not. Canada.
Well,
all right, guys, good chatting.
Anthony, thank you so much, and thank you for calling on in Drive Time. I appreciate it. Let's make sure we get all of Anthony's information. Thanks for calling in, brother.
All right, peace.
You got it. And thank you for listening and watching the show. Every single day, we're growing the numbers here, guys. You guys have been awesome. Every day when I'm tired and I'm sleepy and I don't want to get up, think of you all. And I'm like, I can't let him down. I can't let Dave down. I can't let Snorky down. I can't let down Lady Alex. I have so many great women out in this channel over here that call in. We had our most callers yesterday, 7, and 4 of them were women.
That's dope.
4
Well,
women.
we've already got another one. You ready?
That's it. Let's do it. We're rocking now. Now this thing is now it's rolling, baby. Carla, who are you? Where are you calling from?
This is Dave from Melbourne, Pasta.
What's going on, Dave?
Oh, it's another day in the microwave that we call Florida, man. This heat's getting ridiculous.
By that time,
mango season, Dave. I hope you're taking advantage of mango season. I made some mango flan the other day. It was unbelievable. And I want to talk too loud because I still think that Fred Edward is waiting for a mango cheesecake. I got like a couple slices of that in my refrigerator right now. So take advantage of mango season before the iguanas do.
Well, we not only have the iguanas, we got these red-headed agamas that are getting like little Godzilla sized. I mean, they're insanely fast, and they seem to be taking over in the area I'm in. There's just so freaking many of them.
What are they?
Red-headed agamas. Have you heard of these guys? They're like
No.
cross-speciating with the local lizards. They're lightning quick, and I've seen them get as big as the size of like chihuahuas at this point. But they're taking over here in the Melbourne area. And dude, they've got like tails that are as long as tree branches. They got a little feathers on them when they get a little big enough on the tails. And they're like
that is a
multicolored. But
I'm looking at it right now,
man.
man.
Taking over.
Woo! That's a dinosaur, man. That's a dinosaur.
How do you spell that?
They're a straight up dinosaur, bro. And I've seen them the size of like small dogs at this point. So they're definitely in the process of taking over.
You think
AGAM.
you think they're going to take over the iguanas? These iguanas get huge.
Hey,
There aren't many iguanas over here. There's just the little lizards they're cross-speciating with and tons of other things for them to feed on.
Yeah, iguanas, and they usually like hang out like by themselves too. So you know what I'm saying? Like they get caught slipping, dog.
They're lone animals, man. They just kind of like go over to their own thing. Here's the red agama, by the way, for those of you watching out there. I didn't even know we got these suckers out here. Let's take a look at this sucker.
Florida, dog.
I gotta go see this. What part of Florida are you in again?
Melbourne.
It's Melbourne.
Melbourne. All right. I'm down in Boca, and we do have a lot of iguanas hanging on out. We got a ton of mango trees over here, so we have a lot of iguanas. You know.
Yeah. Well, they like avocados too, but we've got the red-headed agamas, and then occasionally we come upon a what are those things called? They're a much bigger lizard that look like an iguana, but they're actually venomous. Where the mouth is, they have like chomping bits almost on the outside, but they pretty much look like iguanas.
Komodo dragon?
No, they're not really Komodos. God, let me remember what they are. It's gonna drive me nuts now. But they're about the size of iguanas, so people mistake them for iguanas when they're like in the pools. But they're called a specific type of lizard. They're about the size of a Gila monster, though. But yeah, they've got a poisonous bite, so people get into trouble with them because they think they're just regular iguanas and try to pick them up. They like to hang out in people's pools. But yeah, we got a couple of
people be trying to pick up iguanas,
trying to take it over.
Oh yeah, yeah. They do that.
Dude, if you watch the videos, they had actual iguana hunters down here when it started getting bad in the Everglades. And some of these dudes are like badass. They'll like smack the tree, and when the iguana jumps out of the freaking like 50-foot tree, they catch the bitch in midair.
Yeah. And it's
Florida man
technically
shit.
illegal to let them back when you catch them because they aren't an invasive species. So
Iguanas are?
Yep, and that's how they got here.
Damn.
Well, the red-headed iguanas too.
Yeah.
If you capture one and take it as a pet, you can't let it back out. You have to either give it over to animal services or destroy it yourself because they're a massively invasive species over here.
Sounds like it came from Brazil.
Maybe we should start a business. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know you didn't
red
call.
agama hunters.
I know you didn't call to talk about agamas and stuff. And, you know, being that we're so close to each other, how's the water over there? You're what is it called? Palm Bay or the area just south of Melbourne?
Palm Bay is right next to us.
Yes.
The water over there is like super swampy. I lived in Palm Bay for a while. It's got a huge Haitian population coming in. They're building all kinds of black water homes over there, just like popping up like flies. They're really building up that area intentionally, but it's like super swampy. They have coral snakes and some of the worst animals. And you know, we also have like red widows instead of black widows, that kind of thing over here.
What is a red widow?
Next to Palm Bay here. A red widow is about 1/3 to 1/4 the size of a black widow, and it's just as neurotoxic as a black widow is. And they're not shy. They live out in the sun. So their babies are like ultra small. You can't even see them. And you can easily walk into a red widow's nest and end up with a big dose of neurotoxin for it.
Whew. Jesus Christ.
Aren't the lizards? Aren't the red agamas? Are they not eating the spiders, or are they just feasting on the fruit like the iguanas?
They seem to be eating pretty much everything. Mostly flies and bugs. You know, it's Florida. You're always going to have a surplus. But they're so fast that their eating habits are actually hard to record because they're extremely fast and they're super shy when people come around. So once you get within like 10 feet of one, it's booking it, you know, so they don't really hold still long enough, and they're so fast that their eating habits are hard to actually recognize. We got a massive one that I can see on the warehouse next door from my house.
I was going to say today on Drive Time, it's National Geographic Tuesday, as we'll be going over eating habits.
Do you know where the red agama was brought from? Sub-Saharan Africa. Who the hell was bringing red agamas from sub-Saharan Africa? I need to talk to y'all.
So we got a serious problem down here, which is random herpetologists, you know, these self-made herpetologists who have no actual accreditation, but they get money for bringing in very rare reptiles and rare animals for rare collectors who almost always can't handle them and let them go. But I had a buddy, another David, who was a herpetologist, and like many of these people, ended up getting bit by one of his own animals. And sure enough, his entire zoo got out and basically destroyed the area he was living in. So his family ended up having to move because his herpetology lab was basically compromised the instant he passed away.
There's a rumor, I think it was Hurricane Andrew, where it was so bad that in Florida we had all these reptile stores. They were all over the place. But the rumor is that the reptiles got out during Hurricane Andrew, the iguanas, and that's how they adopted and kind of took over the land and whatnot. That it was, once again, people who were wanting to have iguanas as pets, and they got out. I don't know if that rumor is true, but it does make sense. I mean, when I first moved to Florida, when I moved to Boca Raton in 1979, it was the little small green, little small green lizard with the straight tail. That was the dominant lizard. You'd see them because sometimes their tail would be cut off in half, and they'd still be okay, and they would grow an extra tail. They were little small green. They almost look like one of the geckos, but not really. And now, eventually, the bulldog-like lizard with the curl tail, which was fatter, thicker, that dominated those lizards. And now those lizards with the pole dog tail seem to be getting dominated by the iguana. You know, the ecosystem seems to be changing over here. I don't know if you ever heard the rumor, Dave, of when an investor tried to dry out the Everglades, and he dropped a bunch of those trees, those seeds for those like paper trees or whatever they're called, those weird ass trees that are supposed to dry up a lot of land, but it didn't work. And now those are like in the Everglades, and the Everglades is just kind of this weird ecosystem of sorts because people have tried to fuck with it so many times.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you pump a mutagen and white sugar into the same water, it causes massive algae blooms like what we've seen here that results in red tide and things like that, which, by the way, we have a cure for that we don't use for some reason. Milton Marine Aquarium has a patent for it. But we create these massive algae blooms, which then mutates the local flora and the fauna. Like in Palm Bay that you were talking about, I've seen tilapia that are so overgrown, they're literally like looking at you from outside the water because the water is more shallow than their body is and just like asking you to take them, you know, like they're almost talking to you, like just fucking end it, you know. I don't know if that's from the Prozac in the water too. But it's just like you said out here, Pasta, but with the red-headed agamas, because they're dominating the local ecology in terms of those small lizards, but they're also small enough that they can cross-speciate with those lizards to create a new, more adaptable type. And that's where, you know, lizards are really messed up, is because they can cross-speciate so easily. You know, they can, you know, have a couple dozen eggs every time they launch a nest. And they're not, you know, scared of other red-headed agamas out here. Like, there's a big one on the warehouse next door, but then you can see a medium one and a small one sunning within feet of it. So they're not territorial or anything. They have family clusters. So in that, they can create a more efficient predatory hunting ground because, you know, Big Daddy can just sit there and get all the sun he wants while, you know, Junior and the other one go for their own thing and their own families because, you know, that clan is only going to expand.
Dave just explained they live a little bit better too as well. This is why those lizard people that you can see when you put the glasses on, when you're Roddy Piper and you put the glasses on, you can see the lizards. The lizards, since Dave just explained to us, are easy to cross. They can cross-pollinate, right, of sorts.
Cross-species.
Right? That's what they were doing with humans. They can easily do it.
Okay, so
right?
They Live wasn't lizard people. They Live was like alien transdimensional weirdos with, you know, deep socketed eyeballs. But what you're talking about has to do with the Rh negative factor, which we've talked about before, which is Rh negatives are a lot easier to cross-speciate amongst each other and can cross-speciate with Rh positives. Unless it's a Rh negative mother, in which case her life actually goes on the line trying to have a kid with an Rh positive. But, you know, like you were talking about education, I like to say they can teach us about 86 genders, but they can't teach us about blood type compatibility, which is a regular recognized medical thing. You know, we even have optimal blood type diets.
I remember the sign that said breed. And that's, you know, cross-speciate, right? Breed. I wish they would have put that cross-speciate on one of the signs and they live and stuff. Dave, I know you probably had something else you wanted to talk about before we started talking about lizards and red agamas.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got for us?
Yeah, so sorry for the tangent.
I love it. No, I think this is very interesting conversation for the radio.
Yeah, I just learned something new. Shit. I just learned something real. I had no idea.
People are interested, so
yeah. Well, I had actually a couple notes from yesterday. You know, you were talking about the Fauci hearing. That was definitely a humiliation ritual. And since you guys were talking about Ukraine as well, that's a good break-in. Because where's everybody talking about the Obama NIH 2012 grants? You know what I mean? When Peter Daszak, Fauci, and Birx were all signing up on these illegal biolab experiments, and then they killed like 15,000 Ukrainians for daring to have Russian names or to speak Russian natively. You know, they burned some of those people alive, and then they used them as fodder to grow viruses and Gates GMO mosquitoes. You know, like where's the criticism here? You know, you got these democratic socialists that are a little too socialist and a little too little democratic at this point. You know, the American people don't support war on any scale. So what are we doing? You know, dueling warmongers at this point?
Yeah. Well, I do want to point out that was it really illegal? Because in 2001, is that 2001 or 2002? Right after 9/11, I believe the Patriot Act was signed. And there is a clause, I've looked at it before. It's very, very vague, but it does open the door to allow bioweapons research. It doesn't say testing, it says research and understanding, but that does open the door to allow this type of testing. We're talking about gain of function mostly right now. It does kind of allow it to go on of sorts. And good morning, Marie. Good morning, Stacy. It's great to see y'all in the chat. Yeah, it's crazy.
It just hasn't been another country, right?
Is a non-constitutional document. You can't just suspend habeas corpus. You can't just invite foreign agencies in to, you know, train our cops. You can't just disenfranchise cops like they did in 2006 by putting a 90 IQ cap on everything. But setting all that aside, to the original argument, that still doesn't give us the right to experiment with human parts and humanize viruses, create bioweapons like GM mosquitoes and things like that. Because in order to humanize a virus, you need human stem cells for the adaptation process. So those humanized mice and everything, those were definitely global illegal experiments according to the Geneva Accord. And we definitely weren't open about it, because if we were, you know, we would have had to go to the Ukrainian people like, do you guys consent to being used to create new strains of COVID and E. coli and, you know, staph infections that may or may not get released on your public by these crazy Azov Nazis we're about to fund? You know, that conversation was definitely never had. What I do remember is a cover-up that went on straight to like 2022, 2023, even though Vladimir Putin was publishing his findings about the biolabs in 2017 to the UN. You know, they called him a liar for years and finally just admitted, yeah, we did it.
I like when he was taking them out. And by the way, while we're on the subject too as well, the reason why they did fund those crazy Nazis and this whole argument about Christian, Muslim, Judaism, it just drives me crazy right now. Technically, if you look at the numbers, more Christian bombs kill more people every day dropped by a Jewish nation than any Muslim nation out there right now. So please don't talk to me about it. Don't talk to me about Islam. I just don't want to hear it. But that's why New York is so important. We got to get back to New York because you got a lot of cool TikTok videos and Instagram videos of people eating food and people from, you know, different Muslim countries, whatnot, you know, having fun with the New York Knicks and stuff. I think that just opens up the door for more understanding from people, because we are also kind of, I don't know to say we're necessarily taught, but we are kind of nudged to think that, you know, Muslims are bad. Like, you know, you hear Kennedy talk about Iran. These people want to say death to America and drink the blood from the boots, and we got to get rid of these people. So, I mean, there is that kind of talk that, oh, Islam is bad out there or whatnot. So we have to push back on that. But going back to the crazy Nazis too as well, the reason why they were also funded is we understood, at least the military industrial complex understood, that the regular Ukraine army wasn't going to fire amongst their own people. They had to fund the Azov battalion because they would fire amongst their own people. And they understood that. And that's one of the reasons why the Azov battalion, because we've learned this before when it comes to all the way back to the Mujahideen inside Afghanistan. You have to fund the craziest radicals. And that is also how you can push this kind of mindset that all these Arab countries and these nations are really, really bad and they're radical jihadists over the top. No, it's that we funded the craziest radical groups out there because we knew they would do their dirty work. Go ahead, Dave from Melbourne. Unless you got something to add to that, Nico, before we let Dave take it away. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
Take it away, Dave.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like to point out, because I was raised as a quote unquote Christian, but what I was really raised as was a Christian Zionist, and I never knew it. You know, most Christians are lied to from the jump, and that's not their fault. You know, you're given a book, you're told it's holy, and you're told to recite and, you know, maybe sing from it. And I don't blame any victim of brainwashing, but that's still Christian Zionism in the West, Scofield Zionism. And those people are atheists. That's why the modern Western Bible contradicts itself so much. But, you know, Epstein wasn't a Muslim. He was Mossad. Maxwell wasn't a Muslim. She was Mossad. And I look at the stats. You know, we only have like a 3.6% Muslim population. And we definitely don't have, say, like the 188 indicted Christian leaders matched in the Muslim population like last year who were indicted for child sex crimes. This is a serious issue. And I say that as coming from someone who's been in several churches that had child sex scandals, you know, whether I was in Sunday school at the time or a budding adult who actually busted a trafficker that went to our church. You know, that guy trafficked 46 kids. And our church ended up trying to cover it up that he was involved in the church. They didn't address it. They didn't take it on head on. They just basically ignored it, even though the last kid he trafficked got trafficked from our church. And so I got to see that like innate darkness, like early on within the Christian theology. And, you know, I'm an omnist. I think all religions hold some interesting truths, but all religions also create giant shadows for monsters to hide in. And that's what monsters are attracted to, is a nice, shady place where they can hunt down the kids at their leisure, you know, where they can predate and be themselves as it is. But you know, this country has a problem from the top because you don't have to be a religion to be a human trafficker. Those are transhumanists. And they exist in every state. So it's a lot of misdirection. You know, if we were going after the traffickers, we'd be going after the transhumanists, just like Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And she gives TED Talks about transhumanism. So it's not like she's, you know, a stranger to the subject. And that's the exact people who have co-opted both parties, and the Libertarian Party is the transhumanists. So all this misdirection has Hasbara, you know, calling everybody a commie Islamist, you know, claiming someone's un-American if they disagree with, you know, Trump's rhetoric. It's just Hasbara to distract from transhumanism, because they know that the instant the average Christian understands that transhumanism employs necromancy, trying to resurrect people, cryogenically freezing our tyrants and our war criminals for later thawing out, as soon as the average Christian realizes this, they will be adamantly against it, because their own Bible says do not allow a necromancer to live. And there's a good reason it says that. You know, it's one of those pieces of truth hidden in a, you know, specific book of half lies.
Yeah. Nico, did you want to say something? Because I would
just say that's a very specific, now don't allow necromancers to live is a very specific tenet.
So I have a friend of mine, right? And we argue all the time and we debate, and he says this all the time. He says, yes, but Muslim nations don't practice pluralism. Right. And it's like what Muslim nation did you go to? The UAE, you went to Dubai. I'm like, those are all monarchies. Like they're all, you know, handpicked to control
fake
all
countries.
the wealth, the resources for the West over there. I mean, how can you say they don't practice pluralism over there? If you go back and you look at old school Afghanistan, the hippie road, where young people used to go in to buy hashish at one point. Look at the universities before the Mujahideen was funded and took over. I mean, it's just, how do you push back against that, Dave, when people say that Muslim nations at least don't practice pluralism?
Oh, what the hell do we care about Muslim nations that we're not funding? You know, ultimately the United States is mad because their investment in radical Islam has come up lacking, and everybody knows the cat's out the bag. You know, people can't push back when you point out that the America created radical Islam, and if they don't believe, you can post the CIA's own documents showing, yes, we funded radical Islam. That's if you don't show them the tapes of Hillary Clinton admitting, yeah, we created, you know, these guys in the Taliban, we weaponized them, blah, blah, blah. And that's before you get to the deeper rabbit holes, which is, you know, everybody but Osama bin Laden and the bin Laden family is still deeply embedded in our politics. You know, they're just, you know, embedded that way through UAE gas companies. So, you know, people like to cherry pick when it comes to the worst of the worst of the worst, but then they get mad when you point out basic statistics like most caught serial killers were white men, you know, like it's just a really basic thing. Our country creates sociopaths, and those sociopaths can't take acknowledgement for their own sociopathy unless they actually acknowledge that it's programmed into them. Most people don't want to admit that they're a programmed person, even in the age of MK Ultra.
Yeah. Dave from
So how do we
Melbourne.
push back?
Dave, thank you for calling in. I know you took the day off yesterday. We marked that down. That's going on record. So don't think that you can just take days off when you want. All right. You got to attend and call on in and educate us, because we're counting on you, my friend. And we're very close to each other. We're going to talk about this Florida meetup. We're going to really solidify this and get this done. We're going to have a Florida meetup, and we'll figure it out, right? How far are you from the Bright Line? Can you grab the Bright Line? Does it go through Melbourne? It doesn't stop there, right? You just might as well just make the truck to Orlando or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I can take a Greyhound from here or whatever,
Yeah,
It's
but more than likely, if we have a meetup, I'm going to come right up that way and grab you anyways. As long as you don't mind pimping it out on a nice Cadillac, and you have to wear sunglasses if you sit in the front with me, because I got to look cool. You can't not participate. All right.
Well, you'll look handsome standing next to me. I promise you that.
Then I'm definitely picking you up, Dave. I appreciate that.
Yeah, let's make it happen, man. Dave, this would be.
I'm sure Nico will be back.
Nico had to dip out. His wife's not feeling well, and he had to go take care of some babies.
Oh no!
Yeah.
He said in private chat he had to dip out. He said
no. I just saw that, guys. Nico, we love you. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. That was Nico House here on Tuesdays, guys. We've already had 2 callers before the top of the hour. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep going. Let's if you want to call in 561-247-2721. Do we already have another caller? No.
It'll take a second.
You'll take a second, pal. Lady Alex, Katie Kane, see you all. Marie, Gabrielle Freedom. Making fun of me, right, guys? My coffee hasn't even kicked in yet, Gabrielle. I know the difference between woman and man. Eric Moon, thank you so much for hanging on out. I saw Entenmann Bill over there. Entenmann Bill, you're due for a call-in to talk about some stuff. What else is going on? There's so much stuff that's going on. Wanted to talk about El Said today. We did talk about him a little bit too as well. They're coming. They are coming, guys. Meaning the Democrats.
Sheepdogs are out.
They'll be that. The sheepdogs will be there. They'll be once again sheepdogging people back into the Democratic Party. How do we combat it? Right? How do we push back against it? Well, I think we need some independent journalists showing up, asking questions. If I get in front of El Said, I can ask him a couple questions, right? I can, push him on certain things. That's the whole thing they try to hide. It was pretty amazing at the Democratic convention that one year where they had a press conference. I'm like, you guys are just going to let us in here? And we're like, okay. And Johnny Buttons, a.k.a. Johnny Tsunami, set it up. Like he put our microphone. We had rented a nice microphone, handheld, a remote microphone. So he put that where all the microphones are in the front. But then he goes, he went to one spot, put a microphone or a recorder in this spot, a microphone and recorder in that spot, And so everybody's questions, we were able to make a video. You can hear everybody's questions in there. He was just genius about it. But then we sat in a strategic spot, like front and center. So it was very hard for them to answer us. And there was nobody there saying, usually there's a Democratic person, part of the party that says, okay, you'll ask your question. You'll ask that question. Remember Joe Biden when he comes out with the list? I got a list of people I can ask questions to and whatnot. Like it's a controlled environment. And they know that. They didn't do it at that time. And we were like getting able to ask questions and putting them on the spot, I think is the best way to expose them. However, it's going to be hard. And we need independent journalists to do that. And you don't need anything besides camera, phone, with a microphone where you can add an accessory and you can show up. It's enshrined in our Constitution, the people's press, right? Like we are the press, and You don't have to have credentials from one of the big dogs. You can just show up, ask questions, and make it uncomfortable for these motherfuckers. And that's what we have to do. You know, we have to do it to all sides. We have to call these people out for who they are. They expose themselves for who they are. Look at what's going on with this guy. Right away, he loves the endorsements from Kamala Harris, and what was it? They talked about it. The no commitment group or whatever it was. They showed last time that like they're not going to stand by and let a genocide be funded by the United States and be okay with it. Kamala Harris was on notice, but here he is now going, "Thank you, I take your endorsement." You see how it works, boys and girls? You see how it works? That's who they are. That's what they're going to do. They're going to continue to do that. Guys, give us a call, 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. Anyways, yeah. What else could we talk about today, Sleepy? We don't have a caller yet. We need to get a caller. All the momentum's broke. Dave is gone. I would have let Dave stay on, and Nico dipped out. So it's like, man, here I am trying to pick up the pieces and put it together. What do you guys want to talk about today? Give us a call. Sleepy, you got anything on your mind?
Nah, I've kind of browsed through stuff. That's same old shit. And people licking the ass of politicians. I'm like, we got someone in office. I'm like, you want a primary, and they're not going to do anything for you. So what does it matter?
In other breaking news, Lindsey Graham had a military base named after him, or something named after the Pentagon named something after him.
It's good to see that he stayed in the. It's good to see he stayed in the ground.
Well, give it some time, man. He still has a chance. You know what I'm saying?
Some necromancer gonna come on. God.
So let's take a look at this.
I did see a thing.
Ex-IDF soldier. Did you see this here? An ex-IDF soldier. Okay, check this out here. This is something interesting we're going to play. Guys, we need you to call on in. If you'd like to call in, 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. We've had an eventful first end of the show. We talked about lizards. We talked about Detroit. We've been talking about a few things. This is kind of cool over here. This is a former IDF soldier went on a podcast smiling and bragging about ordering strikes on schools and civilian areas in Gaza. The Christians host was horrified, snapped, and threw him out. Israel image is becoming a effing toxin worldwide. Yeah. Sorry, it ain't the Muslims. That's the problem. It's the Christian Judaic values that are okay. And here's this IDF soldier bragging about it. So watch the Christian host go crazy.
Turn it down a little bit.
Dude, stop it. Hey.
All right, we got another call.
All right, we're gonna watch this out and get the caller on now.
Assault charges. You punch in the head, punch in the face, and you go cry your mom. Bro, don't provoke. No. It's not provoke. Everybody just shut the fuck up. You guys get this guy out of here. You guys are provoking. I know. Hey, you can get out. Get out, you can. Get out. Yusef, get out. Bye. Go. I'm not violent like you. Hey, go. Don't provoke. Go. Please, don't provoke. Please. His father is the
All right, let's grab this caller.
All right, let's do that. Somebody's acting like a real Christian there, standing up for women and children getting bombed. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from? Your phone thing's not on, Sleepy.
What do you mean?
This is CAC from Morro Bay.
There you go.
And good morning, Sleepy. Good morning, Pasta. And good morning, Nico. I know you got to watch the kids, but yeah, thanks for being on. And
did you say
I'm
Pat?
Just, a little.
By the way,
CAC. CACK. CAC.
From where?
Morro Bay, California.
You got it. But what are you doing up so early?
Well, I want to catch drive time, man. I don't want to get stuck in traffic.
Thank you, CAC.
So, the elections, the parties, coalition building. I mean, political machines. I'm old. I'm going to turn 65 in about a week. So I know a little bit about, the history of coalition building. FDR did that, right, to get elected or selected. So here's the thing. I know I'm jumping around a little bit on this, but even if you do win a DNC primary, they could still change the rules and disqualify you, or say, okay, yeah, you got popular vote, but you didn't get enough delegates, so it doesn't really matter. So at the bottom line is that it's a private corporation of sorts, right? Isn't DNC a private corporation?
You're right. Absolutely
and
right.
They are really they're not beholden to voter participation at the end of the day. And I have to believe that the Republican Party or any of the parties are probably the same. And let's see, they didn't even have a primary for the last presidential election, right?
Yeah.
So it's covered as if it's the real deal. It's like a lot of friends are watching CNN and saying, "Oh boy, this guy won in Michigan, and she conceded, and yeah, he's going to get it. That's good. I mean, so I understand, that excitement, on the left, the good people, or if you go jump across the aisle there, that invisible aisle, where it's like, oh, no, we got, freedom over here. We got true freedom over here. Okay, so my hypothesis here is something like a more decentralized approach to governance, because right now we're not getting any representation for our votes. Or our taxes. Let's get down to brass tacks. The taxes. Who's representing us in the House of Representatives? My guys are representing big pharma. They're representing the 1%. They're representing the military industrial complex. The Mickey Mac and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, so there I laid out what. So I'm thinking like maybe let's give the Bitcoin analogy, and I know people are going to say, oh shit, Bitcoin, crypto, blah 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 blah. But the thing is there is decentralization there. It's not centralized. So there's that argument, and I kind of believe in decentralization. So not necessarily disintegrating parties, but staying on point as far as issues go, and attack issue by issue. Now it's going to be hard to get a bunch of cats together and herd them together and force a vote, or have some kind of decisive determination of who will represent our tax money or our tax dollars. So does any of this is this too weird? Is this too spread out?
No. Actually, I was just about to give you a compliment and say thank you, CAC, for saving me, because I didn't know Nico was going to jump out so early. And then we got rid of our caller, and I was kind of left like a deer in headlights. Like, what do I do at this point? But this is an important discussion. And I think this is something that we need to really talk about. And I'm glad you brought it to the table, because there are certain things I'd like to address. And obviously, I think you're trying to present some solution. Let me just say off the bat, too, as well, that, yeah, like I think that the issue with Bitcoin is everybody looks at it, it's like an end all be all, it's going to save us. But what I think Bitcoin does, and once again, because it is kind of tied to the American dollar, it could be manipulated by the markets here. So I don't think it's going to be the life raft we have. However, it really should educate us. When we look at Bitcoin and the way it's kind of structured out, and we kind of compare it to our dollar, we can really learn a lot. We can understand how manipulated our dollar is, who's taking advantage of it, how it can hurt or help us. Just understanding scarcity and the ability, right? Scarcity of Bitcoin versus the ability of the American dollar, where they can just come out, direct the Fed, print a bunch of dollars and redistribute it out to their friends, which they did during the CARES Act, which was signed by Donald Trump, one of the greatest upward transfers of wealth. And now they're trying to do that, right? Outdo that by Pete Hegseth literally asking for $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon budget, right? So they have records to be broken. They got a lot of objectives and goals within the Trump administration. It's kind of funny. But I think looking at that is we need to understand that, right? And then you talk about the decentralization part of it. Let me kind of intertwine that into what's really happening, right? So you have to look at what is the Democratic Party. You had mentioned it's a corporate party, right? I think we all learned this with Bernie Sanders, at least the movement within 2016. And regardless what you feel about him,
right,
he motivated people to go and try to join the party, that we can overwhelm the party with numbers, take it over, and turn it into a real leftist workers' party, right? That was the thought process. But we understood once we went in there, it's like trying to change the mafia from the inside. You're not going to do it. It's impossible. Those in power have a grip on that party. They're never going to let anybody take it over. And they can just do those things. You're in California. I've been in California. I've seen the California Democratic Party at work too as well. And it's amazing to me the way they get these minions of theirs, right? So you have all these grassroots people that are running for positions, whatnot. It's the ones they put in the leadership positions. Those are the narcissistic ones, right? The ones that really care about themselves. The ones that speak up for the most disenfranchised, because it's more about them. I'm sticking up for the most needed out there. I'm putting myself on the line, right? Like those latte liberals, those cappuccino moms, those cappuccino communists, we like to call them. They're not really standing in solidarity for people who are most vulnerable. It's all about themselves. And they watch Rachel Maddow and all these other shows, and it really is a farce. But that's what the Democratic Party is. Now, here's the thing. Your solution to what you said, correct me if I'm wrong, is to not so much pay attention to the party apparatus, but pay attention to the issues at hand and try to build coalitions around the issues, not the party. Is that what you're kind of saying that we need to do?
Yeah, and not necessarily. I'm just using Bitcoin as an example because I'm not saying Bitcoin is going to save anything, except the people who got the original, Bitcoins. And now they're millionaires and stuff like that. But there are miners who they do the mining, but the nodes are the ones that actually vote on it. And their votes count, and it's not centralized. Yeah. They're trying to make it more and more centralized, but I think let's get away from crypto. Let's just get back to decentralization and how can to your answer, yes. How can voters? I mean, do we vote with our dollars? Yes. Paying taxes. Secret ballot. I mean, anyway, however they count it or make a determination, issue by issue, that can be stratified, amongst the populace, so you can actually get some bang for your buck. Is that too much to ask?
I mean, this sounds kind of like what Jay talks about.
Yeah, and there is something to that, and I think it's important because I do believe that issues, especially when you get people to stand behind issues that really affect them in their everyday life, they're more passionate about it, and you can count on them to show up to do the work, whether it be knocking on doors at a rally, holding a sign, going to a hearing, going to a city council meeting. When people are invested mentally and in their lifestyle, they're going to show up more. Here is the problem, though, CAC, and I hate to ruin your day, because this is something that's often talked about from Derek Bros, right? Creating parallel systems. Vote with your dollar, opt out of the system, grow food, make bullets, that kind of thing. Depend less on the state, depend less and less on the state every day. Right? I get that. I like that. But here's the thing. Nothing will change until the power structure changes. So even if we opt out, even if we try to do things without the help of the party apparatus, they're still running shit. Until that power structure changes, and this is what we have to figure out. And that's why I think so many people are like, well, I got to pick a side. I'm going to pick this side, right? They kind of get into that mentality, which is the worst thing you can do, is keep feeding the beast that's killing you, right? Democrat, Republican, doesn't make a difference. You're actually feeding the machine that's killing you. So you have to find a way to get out. But the quagmire is nothing changes until that power structure changes. And that's what we have to think about, right? And I know that thought is a little bit more scary, because when you're opting out and doing your own thing independently, you go opt out and do your own thing independently. You can concentrate on the issue that you're trying to fight, getting rid of flock cameras, getting rid of data centers. That's all important. But these problems will keep coming back in our faces. Different problems at different times, different ages, right? I mean, now the flock camera and data centers, right? This is a whole new bunch of problems that we're dealing with that we didn't have to deal with 10 years ago. So this will continuously happen if that power structure is not changed. And here's the thing. Even if you opt out, go off the grid, and do your own thing, they'll come hunt you down. They'll come hunt you down. It's like Hunger Games. You're not getting away. So my point is, and I'll give you the last 60 seconds, CAC, how do we really change this if we don't change the power structure?
So, again, I to put a bow on the problem, I would say what we have is, and more so these days with ultra mega surveillance, is a Stasi capitalism. And you can go back to feudalism too. It's always been about the intelligence community, or spies, or people ratting each other out of fear that they're going to get ratted out. So anyway, you got that. If you get off grid, you're just on an island. Even if you're on the continent, you're still on the island. So to kind of put a bow on this, I guess you have to just be discerning enough to where you can, fight for an issue, ask a city council to pass a resolution, and then maybe get like a ballot initiative or something like that. And even then, you have to go up against corporate opposition. I don't know. Be the media. Keep being the media. Keep asking questions, axing questions. Afflict the comforted, a lot of those same independent principles that journalism people, citizens can exercise, sovereigns can exercise, anybody can exercise. So those are my 2 cents, kind of spread out there, but thanks for having a platform, and have a great day, guys. Coffee.
Jack, have we met before?
I went to let's see, what was a fuck censorship thing in Hollywood years ago. Yeah, I think we shook hands or something. Hi, how you doing? But I've been listening to you for years, and Fee and Steve and those guys, and Garland, and I used to work at KPFK and stuff like that. So I'm
nice.
I've been around for a while and kept an eye on things, and it just seems to get worse, and some parts better, But as long as we're still talking, there's hope. So keep talking.
And we're gonna keep talking. That's why we started the show. And thank you for getting up so early to watch Drive Time. That's CAC from Morro Bay. Thank you so much, brother. I really do appreciate you calling in.
Thank you, man. You got a great show. Bye.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Awesome. It's like he sounds familiar. I think I met him before. Probably looked really handsome with that fuck censorship shirt on, right? And the blue ones with the Easter egg. Was that the Easter egg one? I think, right? We did one.
I had a black one.
Yours had the clover from the DC one, right? Because it was around St. Patty's Day, so we had the clover for the St. Patty's Day one.
That was DC. Oh yeah. That was a combined
Easter eggs
thing.
for the one in
the LA one. I think the Clover's first on
Easter eggs. Yeah. Right. I think I put an Easter egg on it
a long ass time ago, man.
I'm gonna dust those things off, but the words still ring true to this day. Fuck censorship, right? Like, just screw it. I mean, we were dealing with it then, we're dealing with it now, but we're lucky because we have all you beautiful people here with us, hanging on out. We don't have another call, do we?
I don't think so. I forgot to.
Okay. I see the green phone.
I'm a little slow today.
Are you on Mountain Dew time? Are you on Mountain Dew yet?
No, I'm on coffee still.
A lot of people were talking about AOC's little fumble bumble on TV the other day. Did you see it?
Oh God, I didn't see it.
When she was asked, what? This is the thing. They're asking now a lot of representatives, excuse me, what their definition of woke is, right? Trying to get them to explain that, asking them what communism versus socialism is. Let's listen to this nut job. And while we're waiting for a caller, 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. I'm not going to read the tweet. I'm just going to play it. This is 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Let's go full screen. I'm going to refill my coffee. Guys, thank you so much, guys and girls. Thank you so much for calling on in. We really do appreciate it. The number is 561-247-2721. You're watching Drive Time in the morning.
That's possible to win the Senate. So I've been focused on those legislative
What do you make of those controversial statements? I'm sure you've seen. I mean, she's, the Thanksgiving dust up. She says she doesn't, still believe that, but, the abolished prisons, abolished police, which is also positions that have been taken by a lot of the progressive candidates who have won. How do you get around that?
Yeah.
Those are not positions that are supported by.
Right. I mean, I think that a lot of these races, even right now, they'll have a tendency to be nationalized.
Yeah.
But these races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
and I think that what's important is that we have to assess what
was it. I mean, did the movement go too far with some of those positions? I mean, you briefly supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that during this time and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns. Yeah. And I think that the doors were really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. And I actually think that the discussions that were had in that time were quite fruitful. I think that when we talk about crime today, it's fundamentally different than the way that we talked about crime in bringing crime down, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that we all share in the goals of having as low a crime rate as possible. I think that, during lockdown, of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today. And I'm grateful that these candidates have the opportunity to present who they are to their electorate and what they're campaigning on in this moment.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
Dude, that was some word salady shit, man. She didn't even answer the damn question.
No, she didn't. She didn't. And I think that she was also asked in another segment, what's the difference between socialism and communism, and she gave some blah 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 bullshit answer. I think somebody made a tweet. The best tweet I saw was, "How's my volume, by the way?"
I hear you fine.
She made it. Somebody made a comment, said, "This sounds like somebody was called in class that was supposed to do a book report, and she's just blabbing because she obviously didn't read the book." It's an Ocasio salad. Somebody just shared too as well and I'm gonna play it. The fuck censorship song. We'll play that too at the end, close to the end. Let's get a couple callers first, and it's so the guy who wrote the fuck censorship song, and we don't talk. He was a very close friend, and sad, the whole Israeli-Gaza situation. There's another friend of mine.
I agree. I agree.
It's. I'm sorry. I get really emotional and sad when I think about it. The two friends in particular that I haven't spoke to since all that shit went down. We had a falling out, and it sucks. I know. I know for people out there, they've lost a couple friends on that whole situation. It really does suck. And it's hard to combat it. Like, how do you combat when somebody, plays the victim?
You don't. I mean, the only person you can control is yourself, man.
I know. But the thing is that, do you really blame the people for taking the propaganda, for being duped and fooled into believing that, they are the victim?
I mean, the propaganda is. I mean, they're going to have to come to that realization on their own. It's not. That's one of those things that's not really up to us to decide. And
well, the thing that's kind of mind blowing too is a lot of those people. The other friend of mine, his name is Sean. I love him. He's in Atlanta, but he was a little mad at me too as well. And we really haven't spoken. But how do you see the imperialism and the shit that's going on with the West, but then not see it with the Zionist?
It's a mystery. All right, let's get.
How do you not see it with the Zionist? That you can see it. Well, I've been lied to everything what the American empire is doing, but then you don't see it with the Zionist. You honestly believe that their fight is about because they're hated and they're being subjected. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Pasta, it's Miguel Santiago from the band Rolled Whiskey in Fort Lauderdale. How you doing, bro?
What's up, Mr. Santiago?
I just wanted to make a quick comment. It just sounds like AOC took speech coach lessons from Kamala Harris.
Right, I was thinking that.
Right, yes, right.
I'm like, she doesn't quite have the Kamala flow down yet, though.
Got to get the cackle. Yeah. She did do the smile, and she did like a little her own smile and cackle, but she didn't do it like Kamala.
It was very similar. It had the same creepiness behind it. I'm very nervous, and I'm not going to answer this question, but all I'm here to do is signal to the center. And I think that I've seen a couple of her interviews recently, and that's all she's doing is signaling to the center. And that's what I think we can expect from her. She's, running from the things that initially got her attention and made her popular, because she's reaching out to the establishment in her party.
She read on Medicare for All, and she pretty much abandoned the position once she got in. The force to vote.
She abandoned every single position.
Well, that was her main position, right? Was Medicare for All, I think. Yeah. That was it. That was, hey,
Yeah, and I see Pete Buttigieg making speeches in Michigan and out in the Midwest, and same sort of thing, but he's signaling. He's signaling even harder. He's signaling to Republicans, honestly, and I think you're going to see this from the establishment Dems. Republicans are, everybody's talking about this. We've been talking about the midterms are going to be a bloodbath for the Republicans. The two wars that were never ended. Trump's just, he's in trouble right now. So, but what it seems the Republicans have left in their playbook is their old go-to, and just call everybody a communist. Or a socialist. Now they're using the word communist, whereas maybe last time around, like with Biden, it was more socialist. And they were radical, and they're running against people that are not even in races. They're putting up, Hassan Piker, and saying, "Look at these horrible things he said in the billion words he said on podcasts. Look at these 4 that are so horrible. And do you disavow him? Do you disavow him?" And they're running against straw men, that they're creating boogeymen, and they're trying to create connections between their opponents and whoever they put up as boogeymen. And it's ridiculous. It's pathetic. It sounds pathetic, but why anyone in the other party would play to that strategy? I mean, that could be so easily dismissed. Sorry, dude. Hassan is not in the race. I am. You want to ask me what I believe? And that's the way to handle that. But they're just falling into the trap. They called Joe Biden a radical leftist.
Yeah.
In what fucking universe is Joe Biden, the author of the crime bill, a radical leftist? So they're going to say it about anybody. So I don't know why they just don't strap on a pair and run on popular issues, run on issues that have 80% support, like some of the issues we talk about on the show. So that's my 2 cents.
It's interesting, and stay with us for a second, Miguel, before you take off,
Sure.
because this is something we need to talk about real quickly, because I think that there is, I give you a hard time. I've given you a hard time on the show for the Ro Khanna situation, right? Talking about the incrementalism. But even when
you do, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Even when our boy, and it's, I was looking for this, and I found this post from Caroline Levitt going off. It was from Hotspot, going off and talking about if we let the leftists get back into power, it's going to turn us into a communist hellhole. And this was always my struggle too, dealing in the election integrity world with people out there on the right. Listen, we went to go and push back in Clark County in Nevada against the certification of the election, and I was trying to highlight the system, how fraudulent it is, and how lacking transparency it is, and whatnot. And unfortunately, this is something that I've talked about, that 90% of the time the conservatives or the populist right got it correct when it came to highlighting the system as being broken. But then it's who they're talking about. And the woman, her name is Mindy Robinson, she called Joe Biden a Bolshevik. I was like, what? Do you even know who the fucking Bolsheviks are? Like, you're calling, this crazy Marxist, this Bolshevik, Joe Biden. I'm like, Biden is the furthest thing from a fucking Bolshevik, you idiot. But when we talk about the incrementalism, we talk about getting something from it. Abdul El Sayed, when he does talk about certain things, right? And obviously, I think he's trying to not give a straight answer when it comes to Israel. From what I understand right now is that he's willing to fund Israel based upon if they were to change a few things, militarily, I guess. I don't know what's happened. But when he does talk about, and splitting the differences about Judaism and Zionism and whatnot, he makes a lot of sense. And his opponent, right? We saw his opponent. She was talking about, we need a beautiful Israel. We need a strong Israel. So it's very easy to fall into that trap and go, okay, we got to take what we can give. Even if it's a small win, it's a win. We got to take it. It's very easy for us to go ahead and say that. I think that was the whole mentality when we were fighting. There was people of us, they're like, we're mitigating damage. We're voting for Hillary Clinton instead of Donald Trump because we're mitigating damage. And there were some of us, and this is, like I said, this is where I did give Jimmy Dore praise at that time when it came to the Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders time and the split. He was like, screw that. Don't vote for the Democrats. Let's go to the Greens, right? This is where we knew that if Bernie Sanders was sincere, he would have went and took Jill Stein's offer to take the top of the ticket and then her be the vice president, whatever the case may be. He should have done that if he was sincere about fighting the establishment. He wasn't. Instead, he joined the establishment and brought everybody in there with him and told people to vote for Hillary Clinton. But isn't it the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results? We keep moving backwards, right? And that's this is what I explained to you when we talked about on the show about the Ro Khanna situation. No, this actually hurts us. We're not getting any incremental change. We're actually taking one step forward, but then 2 steps back because we're supporting people at the end of the day who are not going to fight for the poor and working class. So it is a quagmire. I get it. And I've said nothing changes until the power structure changes. So, I guess I'm not posing a question to you. I guess I'm saying to you, I understand and sympathize when you say those things. However, I still strongly believe that supporting the incrementalists, because they're not incrementalists, they're actually wolves in sheep clothing. They're still representing the oligarchy and the power. Their whole job is to rehabilitate the Democratic Party and make it look like a leftist working party when it's not that. So I'm not asking a question, but if you have a comment, please. I'm saying I sympathize with your thought process. However, I'm still standing true to say it's the wrong selection or choice.
Yeah. I mean, we've had this, incrementalism debate for years, you and me, and you make wonderful points. And I can't, I concede a lot of it. There's a strong school of thought about this country that change only happens incrementally in this country, and a lot of people believe that. And that if it's a question of some small change and, hope of more small change versus literally no change, that's what a lot of people will choose the lesser of two evils, to use your term. And then we have friends like Phil, who he'd rather see it swing completely in a direction that is abhorrent to him, to wake people up so there can be that same equal force swinging the pendulum back the other way. And he and people like him believe that things need to get terrible before they can get much better. Otherwise, we will just have these baby steps of incrementalism. And sometimes it is 1 step forward and 2 steps back. So, put this in a historical perspective, and I just really asked the question out loud. I don't have an answer to it. When in our country's history have we seen fundamental change or radical or revolutionary type change? And really the only thing I can come to, maybe just because I know the 20th century much better than the 19th, but the New Deal is something that people might point to. What gave rise to that? It took a depression and, really 2 world wars, more so the second one, where our country was mobilized. Our country had people fighting on the ground, had people coming back dying. We had many of our men, overseas for 2 and 3 years, 4 years at a time, not seeing their families. And, that era of after the Great Depression of FDR's New Deal, leading then into World War II, maybe it takes something extreme like a world war that we're actually fighting and having our troops fighting, or a draft or a depression that is so, not like gas prices going up by $1, but literally food lines, in every major city. My grandfather, who was very pro-labor, he was a Teamster. He was a baseball bat organizer, before unions really, came about, and then went on to join the Teamsters. he used to always say, and my father used to say, what the hell are you saying? He used to say, what this country needs is a good depression. That's what this country needs. Then you'll all learn. And my father used to say, Dad, what the fuck are you talking about? You sound crazy. But I guess his point is, maybe, we will have revolutionary change, when things get really that bad. We have equality, despite all of our complaints, despite how much, we're hurt by the affordability crisis. We have a longer lifespans than ever in human history. We're not working 16-hour days. We don't have child labor. We have relative peace in many countries, except for the few hot spots where there's actual fighting. So, when put in perspective of how bad do things need to get before we can have fundamental change, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're on the road to it. I believe we're on the road to it. So I don't know. And that's if you buy into that theory that the pendulum needs to swing so far in one direction that it needs a lot of momentum from that to swing back the other way. Otherwise, we're just going to get these baby steps of incrementalism each way.
I think when your grandfather
just
said,
one more comment.
Go ahead.
If I had to choose incrementalism, because that's all we're going to get, and I could choose one issue to make the greatest impact on our country than anything, I would say 6-hour elections, campaign finance regulation, and making sure every vote counts, election integrity, like your specialty. If we could fix that, so many other things would fall into place. And so many people don't see that as a priority. And even candidates that truly believe in that, they have to take the money. They have to raise money just to get into a position of power. And then I don't know what happens. 90% of them get corrupted by that power, or they realize it's futile. I'm
there with you, right? If voting actually worked, they would not let you do it, right? That's the big old saying, ex-lickers. If voting actually did something, they would eliminate it. They would abolish it. And you're right, and that's why I think the voting system itself. That's why it's one of my core issues is fix the voting system. But that doesn't stop the propaganda, the money that's spent, the way they can, hypnotize people, convince them to go along against and vote for somebody against their actual needs and wills and everything like that. So I agree with you. And there are areas where people say get money out of politics. That might change a lot. So there's a lot to be discussed there. But I want to stick on the discussion what your grandfather said, because I think it's important. And I sometimes get caught in the crossfire too for making comments very similar to that. Like, what this country needs is a Great Depression, right? And a good old depression, because that will wake people up, because people take things for granted. And there are a lot of things you were talking about, the luxuries we have of sorts. First off, I want to point out that a lot of the luxuries we have were the fact that we don't have to worry about bombs being dropped on us the way other people do in other countries. I mean, imagine what they're thinking about in Gaza to this day. And I know that's the extreme, but they are bombing tents and whatnot. And, right now, your goal when you wake up in Gaza as a Muslim, as a Palestinian, is don't get bombed today. Right? That's your number one goal.
And then go stand online for water. Stand online for water, and that's
exactly.
Muslims
water
and
or bread or I mean and that's
yeah.
there's and that's
said No, I heard somebody said no one is going to go grab their pitchfork while we are so comfortable. Until we have a draft, until we have danger, of life or death here on the homeland, people are just gonna swipe right and move on and accept the flock camera in their neighborhood, accept the censorship of their speech, accept having their children told what to say on a college campus. You know, people aren't going to do anything when our lives are so comfortable. It's really going to take a fire under somebody, under our asses.
And even with this generation not being able to buy houses or attain access the way our parents did, our grandparents and parents did, they're still okay with it because they got Netflix and Domino's, right? So they can still, all right, it's not that bad. And you're right. During the Great Depression, and
we have a pretty good quality of life.
Needs is a good depression. What was the problem? There were food lines in every major city. People were hungry. So until the food gets cut off, forget about it. Nobody is grabbing their pitchforks. But I do get in trouble for saying those things sometimes about what I just mentioned in Gaza. Like, I don't want us to be under the threat of bombs. And I get that you pay your taxes so you don't go to jail. You don't pay your taxes saying, I want my tax money to go to this and that, right? You don't even say. You pay your taxes so you don't go to jail. But those tax dollars, the majority of the tax dollars, are going to bomb those people in Gaza and other parts of the world right now, right? The Christian Judaic bombs of sorts that I like to point out. Not that I want to bag on Christianity or Jews, but they use that term Christian Judaic principles, but yet they don't seem to be Christians or good Jewish people at all who are going along with the bombing of women and children. But how do we get people, woken up to what's going on and whatnot? I see a lot of people who buy into the capitalist system, Miguel, and I talk to them. They're like, well, this is what it is. This is the terrain. This is the territory. I was dropped into this world. I have to survive in it. So I'm going to do the best to survive in it instead of crying. But I tell those people, you still have to pay attention to the system. What happens to you one day if you're near your time expiring on this planet and you left all these money and this assets that you worked your whole life? You kept your head down. You didn't buck the system. You worked within the system. You didn't fight back against those who were oppressing us. You went around them and earned and made money and acquired assets for your family. But what if I were to tell you that all of a sudden, that as you're getting ready to exit this planet, somebody informs you that your assets that you had and all the money you had are now worth about 1/3 of what they were worth when you acquired them? How are you going to feel then? Because that's what we're looking at right now. That's why you can't ignore the system. You can't go around it, because the assets, the money, everything that you acquire now will not be worth what it's worth today later on in life. Go ahead, Miguel Santiago.
You said that the other day on a show, and I'll tell you how I felt and how I answer that question now. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I am one of those people that just bought into capitalism and said, hey, I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to raise a family. My kids deserve the best. I'm going to work my balls off, as best I can to provide be the best provider for my children as possible. And then, everything I invested, everything I saved, if we keep printing money and we keep running up the debt, that is a fear of mine. That what I'm going to leave to my children is worth 5% of what it was when I was working for it. That is terrifying.
And everybody needs to look at that. Okay, right now, people who are sitting on houses, they're cool. The houses are worth so much. It's ridiculous. The new generation can't buy houses, but you could sell your house to a subsidiary of BlackRock, State Street, or Vanguard and make a few bucks on that. That's cool. And a lot of people look at a house as a retirement plan, right, for the future. But what happens if the housing market crashes and now that house that was worth $1 million, you can't get rid of it for $200,000? Those days are possible in our future, right? If we don't do something about this, and I don't even know what we can do at this point. Our money is not backed with anything. They just keep printing it out when they want to. They give the majority of it. We don't have socialism in this country for the poor and the working class. We do have socialism for the rich. The CARES Act handed out that money to everybody, all these billionaires.
So true.
While we got what, $700 a week checks? It's kind of cool to stay home and not have to work and get that $700 a month, whatever it was. I don't know, the unemployment. I can't remember it and stuff that, But, coming out of that, what do we have? A lot of the jobs that were there beforehand or have been eliminated. Now the big corporations own the majority of it. They got that money from the CARES Act went to them. Where did that leave the rest of society? How do people not seeing this as a possibility of them happening to them in the future? Now the question is, what do we do about it? Well, I don't know exactly, but I keep saying this. Nothing will change until the power structure changes. We have to change the power structure. How we get there, that's the $1 million question. I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds, Miguel Santiago from Rolled Whiskey, and let us know when you got a show coming up.
I wish I had the dates, but we are playing in St. Augustine in November at the Porkapalooza barbecue competition. We're probably playing at Boston Johnny's in September, and playing something called Whiskey Fest in Miami also in September. But anyway, I'll not to sound like Cenk Uygur, but I'll go back to the one thing. I really think it's something that's doable, and it will, it'll have the greatest impact, I think, and that is fix our elections. Our elections are broken, and they're broken because of the money in politics, and they're broken because people are losing faith in that their vote is being counted. So
I don't know. I think next time your grandfather, may he rest in peace, right?
Yes.
If he's up there looking down, we have another good depression. What this country needs is another depression, right? And if it happens again and things fall down and the food lines supplies break and whatnot, I hope people do grab their pitchforks. But it has to be this kind of like, when was it in England, the year when they started hanging everybody and bringing all the, you know what I'm saying? I think that was a little bit different there because they understood the guy who lived in that castle over there is the one calling the shots. You can go up there, grab him, and bring him out. That's not the case anymore. The people who are calling the shots are not living in castles, right? We don't even know who they are. So that is the issue in itself. And we got to make sure they don't press the nuclear button and bomb us all and get rid of us because they don't care about us. They'll go hibernate underground and live underground while they let us live and fight it out in a nuclear holocaust. Miguel, thank you for calling in, buddy.
No, I know you're trying to wrap up, but just leave us with one thought. Maybe we can talk about another show. But why wasn't COVID that moment? I don't really compare that to the Great Depression. I think that was much more of a hardship than we went through in COVID. But I had hope, at least, that this was going to rally the people together. But unfortunately, we came out of COVID with the elites consolidating more power and the gap between rich and poor getting greater instead of, at least what I had hoped, that it would unify people. It's unified people in rhetoric. It's unified people even in politics. You've seen parts of the right come together with parts of the left on issues like vaccines and business close downs. But I mean, compare now to 6 years ago. The elites are more powerful. It's gotten more affordable for a young family to buy a house and raise kids. So I don't know. What's it going to take? So thanks for giving me a voice. God bless.
Thanks for bringing your voice to the table. And I guess we'll just continue to have these conversations until we figure it out ourselves. Maybe it happens in our time, in real time, and we can what did they say? The revolution will not be televised, but it will be live streamed. So we'll be here while it happens. So thank you, Miguel.
Keep talking loud.
We will.
Jay.
We'll keep talking.
Have a good one.
We'll keep talking. That's all I know how to do is talk. Guys, we do have time for one more quick one. If anybody wants to call in, 561-247-2721.
Let's see if we got one.
Do we have a call?
I'm not sure. It'll take a minute.
All right, give it a second. If you want to make a quick call, if not, we're gonna wrap up the show soon. I'm gonna play the F censorship video.
We got one.
We got one. Here we are. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
If not, we're gonna wrap up the show soon.
Mute your live stream or it'll be delayed. You can listen on the phone.
Got one. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Julie from Tennessee.
Hey, Julie.
Hi, how are you? First, I wanted to say before I forget, I found you through Jimmy Dore, and I just thought you were great on that show. And
Oh, thank you.
Kurt Metzger ruined. I just really think he ruined your appearances, and that would be great if you were back on there. And then two, you were just talking about we're so comfortable. The problem is the food. For 50 years ago, men had 50% more testosterone, and then Kennedy tried to get the glyphosate out, and Trump put it back in on national security grounds, emergency national security grounds. But nobody is going to get up and fight when the glyphosate is turning men's hormones into women's hormones, basically. I know I'm not making very much sense.
Well, soy is very high in estrogen too, if I remember right.
Right,
so, I mean,
right. And
there's all
that's
kinds
really
of
the
ways
problem,
they're
and
sneaking it in.
Exactly. So I don't think even if they want to get up and fight, people can't. Besides with the Netflix and the games and everything like that. So it's just a long-term thing. I think that they thought out and poison. It's great poisoning, as Catherine Austin Pitt said. So people need to. It's just so many things to overcome. And I personally, I do not think we can vote our way out of it. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm black pilled.
Feels the same way.
I did. What is that?
We need to have Amber on to
She feels
to
the
talk
same
about
way. We're gonna have
food
her
stuff,
on.
man.
Yeah, she doesn't feel like we can vote our way out of. Misty Winston feels that way too, as well. Doesn't feel like we can vote our way out of this oligarchy.
I just don't. I just voted in my local primary, and I just did it to vote against Marsha Blackburn because she's just so hateful. And of course she won, but everybody around here, Trump's rating has gone down 49%. Nobody is really for it, but I just think they might fix those elections too.
Yeah. So,
Julie,
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What do you think the solution is? If we can't vote our way out of the oligarchy, is it? And I don't want you to. I always get nervous when I said I don't want people to incriminate themselves. But do you think revolution is the only solution at this point, or do you think it's something else other than revolution?
I don't want to advocate for violence, but I don't see anything else working. If you look back historically, right?
Yeah.
That's always kind of the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I don't think we can vote. Even if we get the candidate, then they seem to get rid of them.
There is an old saying, by the way. That old saying is, if you make a peaceful revolution impossible, you make a violent revolution inevitable. And you did mention the French Revolution. You did mention the Russian Revolution. At this point, I don't know what's going to happen. I do hear people talk about, changing the oligarch's mind, the Knights of Malta, all those Babylonian people, and let them know that we can do this peacefully. There's a guy, Knights of the Malta, who usually is up in the chat, talks about that too as well. But I don't know how that's going to happen, because I don't think anybody in power, especially those that are in power now, are going to relinquish that power without a serious fight, Julie. So I know what you're saying, and I almost get, I vote because I believe it's my God-given right, but I understand those who don't want to vote because there is no way to vote our way out of this oligarchy.
Yeah, I don't know, and then the problem is, with the revolution, we're all surveilled. So if anybody tried to get together, I think they could quash it. And I think that's one of the reasons for the ultra surveillance. So I just don't know.
There is something to be said for the anarchists that say that, we should find a way for ourselves to govern ourselves as much as possible, where we don't want a state to be involved. And it's kind of weird because obviously, I talk about collectivism all the time. Collectivism involves a state collecting taxes or revenue, whatnot, and using those taxes for the benefit of the people rather than for war or other things the oligarchs want. So I don't have the answers myself, and that's why I think part of the show is searching for those answers. But it is going to be interesting to find out how we can get there. We are wrapping up the show, Julie. I'm going to give you the last 30 to 60 seconds to maybe make a comment or a statement on what is happening. Julie called in. She's calling from Tennessee. Thank you so much, Julie. This is your first time calling the show, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. And I'm glad
I
you
would just say
enjoyed
that people
my
need
time
to.
on Jimmy, by the way. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I loved that you were great. So much better than the guys he's been having now. I would just say people. I'm Gen X, 58. It's sort of too late for me, but for the kids coming up, I don't know. You just need to watch your diet. Just start with the basics. Take care of yourselves because there's so much estrogen, right, in the food supply, in the water supply. And then after, I just don't know. I've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking, they've been changing it since I've been following this since Bernie Sanders. Everybody voted for him, but then they come up with nonsense to change it. So I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this much.
I
Here's what I think we can do. And I think you did mention something there that's very important, right? We have to find a way to take care of ourselves. There is something beautiful in what Derek Rose is talking about. If you haven't seen Derek Rose's work, go over and check it out. He's got some amazing work where we have to find ways to opt out the system, create parallel systems for ourselves. But we can still do that, take care of ourselves. And I think that's the most important thing, right? For me, what COVID did was make me say to myself that, okay, regardless of what's going on, all the politics, all the yes, all the no, all the big pharma, all the, off-patent drugs, whatever the case may be, I need to take some accountability and I have to take care of my health better. And I think we all have to do that. How can we help ourselves? There's enough knowledge and information out there that we can live better lives for ourselves. We don't have to be attached to the corporate system, especially the corporate food system in the United States, which you mentioned. It's so awful.
And the med system, right? Yes, yeah. So and the pharma system. Boomers think
pharma system. Yeah.
The pharma system, the medical system. Boomers thinks the doctor is God, and they're just a bunch of brainwashed people. I mean, to realize they're not that smart, No.
So what we do is we find parallel systems, we find better ways to take care of ourselves, but we keep our eyes open and we listen to people, we talk to people like-minded, being careful that, they're always sending their little psyops, their little feds out there to interfere and steer us the wrong way. So we have to be very, pay attention to that, be very cognizant of that. But we create parallel systems, we take care of ourselves, we feed ourselves better, we teach our children how to do that. But we also have to keep our eyes on a possible revolution of sorts in which we can get rid of these psycho Babylonian death cult, whatever they are, people who use our children as currency and literally want to drink our adrenochrome blood. Julie, take the last 30 seconds and put a bow on it for us. You're closing out the show today, and thank you for calling in.
I'm just so glad that I found you again, Pasta. It's great.
Oh. Thank you so much. We have some amazing women that call into the show, and I'm glad you called in today because you were the only woman to call into the show, and I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I didn't want just a bunch of dudes kind of come on. I didn't want the bro shows. I really did, and I don't play that politic. I don't play the culture war, woke bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Social justice war. I don't do that. I really don't. But I wanted to make sure there was voices from everybody out there, and I thought it was awesome that you found me again, and I thought it's awesome that you got to close the show out. Julie from Tennessee, make sure you keep listening and call in whenever you want, okay, Julie?
All right. Thanks, Pasta.
Thank you, and have a great day. Oh, man, what a great show today. There was even a moment in today's show, like when Nico left, I was like, what am I going to talk about over here? We're not. And CAC called in and saved the day. And reminded me about the things that we need to talk about. And it's happening right now, right? We're witnessing this all over again, what we witnessed in 2016, what we witnessed in 2018, 2020. I'm talking about every 2 years when there's an election coming around, people rally up again and they, oh my God, and the machine comes to get you and recruit you to their murder death cult to walk into the room with them and say, come on, join us. I want to thank Anthony from Detroit, who started off the show. Anthony! That's from The Sopranos when Ralph Cifarello was calling for Anthony, Tony Soprano. He's like, Anthony! That's so Anthony from Detroit. You get that love. You get that shout out. Dave from Melbourne took the day off yesterday. Not really. He was in the chat. He's always paying attention. He's always making the chat interesting. But he got to call in today. We got to talk about lizards. That was fun. What was the name of the red what?
I don't remember. It starts with an A.
Look out for that red lizard. He'll put it in the chat. He usually does. CAC from Morro Bay, who we got to meet at the Fuck Censorship rally in Hollywood. That was a fun one. That was in my hometown. We were walking around. That's when y'all came to my house. We had some fun, right?
Good time.
Miguel Santiago from Roll Whiskey in Florida called. A couple Florida callers today. We got to have a Florida meetup. And of closing out the show, Julie from Tennessee. Thank you, Julie, so much. Redheaded Agamas. There he is. Look out for them. They're not around here. We got a lot of the iguanas, and they're living nice and lovely and big because we got so many mangoes. I got a mango cheesecake in there. I got 5 mangoes I got to go into. I'm going to probably make some more mango flan. The mango flan was so good. The only problem is I make it and then I got to start eating it. It's so awesome, and I'm trying not to eat so much. But it's mango flan. How do you say no to mango flan? Guys, as we wrap up the show, and thank you so much for watching today, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, keep the dialogue flowing and the peace growing. I want to thank my crew, Sleepy J, the engineer and co-host on the ones and twos, for holding it down. I want to thank our producer, Gabrielle Freedom, who's always in the chat when she can be, letting people know where they can help us out, where they can find us. And I want to thank everybody else for participating today. Entenmann Bill, I think you're a big reason why a lot of people from Jimmy Dore are finding me. I want to thank you personally, Entenmann Bill, for doing the work out there. There are so many soldiers that are doing the work for real independent media out there. They recognize who the real people are, the ones who are not the alternative mainstream media little lackeys, and then they highlight them. And they do it for no to little cost. I mean, the work that Gabrielle and Sleepy are doing right now, I am so humble and thankful they're doing that. And they're doing it not just out of the kindness of the heart. It's because they believe in something. They see something. They have a vision for what we are doing here. And I think a lot of people who join the show also share that vision. So thank you so much for doing so. Tomorrow we'll be back. We're going to have Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski here, but we're going to have a special guest come at the top of the hour. Her name is Tiffany Cianci. I met her at the Libertarian Convention. I saw her at some of the third-party debates. She's awesome. She's going to explain to us the Maha movement, what happened, what the Maha movement was supposed to be, what it is now today, and what we have to do moving forward in the medical freedom movement. It's very interesting. She'll be joining us tomorrow. But until then, remember, I love you all. Go forth kindly, and peace be with you. See you tomorrow.